Well, this thing should be running. Well, happy Halloween. Let's talk about pygmies and cannibals and vampires because tomorrow is November 1st. And that's when the food gets cut off in the United States. And as you know, that could be that could lead to some substantial challenges. Some people know that I previously hunted cannibals. Oh, hello. They're actually adding on to my Masako and I are adding on to our library now. So we're getting, they have to pull a table through the window. So anyway, you got to see this library. I just sent, it's more of a museum than a library. It's taken years to assemble it. I just sent a video to Lara Logan over in Texas, and she messaged back, and well, like everybody does who actually sees it, it's quite an amazing. At some point, I'll give you a tour of it, but it's a library about war actually. And anyway, so that's sorry for the distraction, but they're bringing our new library table through the window. So so you may hear some background, and they may hear me talking about cannibals and run away. Anyway, I got my cannibal hunting hat on, although a lot of times I didn't wear a hat when I was cannibal hunting. Sometimes I would. And I did most of the cannibal hunting in India and also some in Nepal and California and a few other places. And so one of the cannibals that I hunted down in India was from Houston. His name was Gary Stevenson. His name was Gary Rayburn Stevenson. He was born on December 3rd, 1950, as I recall, if my memory is accurate. And yeah, and so he was born in Houston. I tracked down his family tree in great detail and fascinating story. Anyway, I tracked him down in India. It took a long time, took about 6 months. It was very dangerous. And then I interviewed him quite a lot. Anyway, I learned a lot about cannibalism and cults. You'll never waste 1 minute of your life when you're studying cults and brainwashing, because it's like studying mathematics. You will just gain tremendous benefits from it for the rest of your life. And so when it comes to cannibal hunting and when it comes to cannibals, I actually know a thing or two. And I actually know a thing or two about many different cultures. I've spent most of my life in other countries. I grew up in Florida, but I've spent most of my life out of the country in places like Afghanistan and India and Nepal and Tibet and just all over 99 countries, right? And so I've seen a lot of things. It's hard to surprise me, but occasionally it still happens. But when it comes to cannibal, when I'm down in the Darien Gap, Masako and I and others that we brought down to Darien Gap, and I'm watching all these people come through from all these different countries, and I'm watching what I'm seeing, and I'm watching them come through the jungle, and I'm going, yep, here we go. People have no idea what's marching through this jungle and going to be living next door to them or above them in the condominiums or whatever. There are, I assure you, not all fish work well together in the same aquarium. And we're about to see that. We're about to see it. Well, people are already seeing it in living color. They're already seeing the results of these mistakes. And it's going to get a lot worse. Now, you see already on X, you see a lot of people are posting videos about how they're going to rob stores when the food gets cut off tomorrow, November 1st. And there's no telling what'll happen. And one thing I do know for sure is that some people will go to cannibalism instantly. They won't wait like a week. I mean, they'll miss 2 or 3 meals. That's it. Game on. There's some people that have no compunction about doing cannibalism. There are people who do it ritualistically, and there's people that just do it. I mean, and they're not psychotic or anything. It's just their culture, right? Like, for instance, down in Congo, as an example, there's people that hunt down and eat pygmies. And, they say pygmies are good eating, and they're hard. It's hard for the pygmies to run away because they're small. They got short legs. And there's a lot of people that like to eat albinos as well in Africa. So I guess there's nothing racist about that. It's a black person eating a white person. So, and you saw there, you may have seen recently a woman was saying, she put a video, posted it on X, that she's going to start eating white people, a black woman in America. She sounded American. And so, again, people will really do it.
I want to come real fast just to make this video, just to make something very, very clear to the white man. Black Americans do not care about your government shutdown, and Black Americans do not care about you taking away our EBT and our government assistance, because Black Americans never depended on the American government to take care of us and feed us, because we never could. We were never able to depend on the government, in spite of what you may say and what you may try to force us to believe. So you can sit back and you can mock, you can laugh, and you can think that you're about to starve us to death. But I'm here to let you know that we are going to eat regardless, even if we have to hunt you animals down and roast and eat you.
Oh, the pygmies better watch out. And also for mistaken identity, midgets as well, short people, children, watch out, because, there is a, let's face it, she's stated her intent. She's going for it. Albinos, too. Remember that. A lot of these people love to go for albinos. Man eaters. Remember that song? She's a man eater. What is that? Who's that? Hall & Oates? And again, watch out. If you're an albino or a white person, they may think you got magical powers and come for you, because that's what they go for. They go for people with magical powers. They thought the pygmies had magical powers, and the albinos have magical powers. That's why in Africa, pygmies and albinos have to be on the lookout. People will come and eat them.
The delectable crackers and cheese. We will make it happen if we have to. Trust and believe me. And if it takes this government shutdown for Black people to finally come from under the government and understand that we don't need to be paying our taxes into this government, what we really need to be doing is taking care of one another, buying land, and growing our own food and building our own nation. If this government shutdown and starvation is what it's going to take, then let the party begin. It's Black Power, baby, and we rise.
And they won't need to be shipwrecked or crash on a mountain in an airplane. And with the soccer team, I read that book, by the way, when I was in Army. That was one of the suggested reading books for survival when I was in doing Army stuff. And so it's quite interesting that you'll find that cannibalism is still actually quite regular around the world. Again, that might be shocking for some people, and some people say, no, that can't be. And it's because they don't know anything, really. It's because they don't really get out like I do. Anthony Rubin asked me recently if I'll take him cannibal hunting. And he's one of the rare people I would actually take, because he's a serious man. I mean, Anthony, he got kidnapped in Mexico with his brother. And no sooner did he get released that he went right back, bought new camera gear, and went right back into action. He went all the way through the Darien Gap with it. It's just Anthony. I've been all across the border with him. I'd take him. And there's a good chance we'll end up doing it, because he asked me a couple times recently. And so anyway, it's actually dangerous, cannibal hunting. It's not a joke. And the cannibal that I hunted down, or I hunted down quite a few actually, but the one from Texas, Gary Stevenson, his cannibal name was Kapal Nath. It means way of the skull. Kapal is Sanskrit. Actually, Nath means path, right? And anyway, you can find a lot about him online, because after I published quite a bit got out there. But Gary, he used to, since he spoke English fluently, he was American and Scots Irish, unfortunately, and or at least Scottish. Okay, that's better. And but Gary, his father was an Army officer in World War II. I talked with his father before. His father's passed away now. He came from a wealthy family, and quite wealthy, and he went off and did his thing. But I learned a lot from Gary, and he introduced me to other cannibals, and I also found others just on my own, and I just realized that there are a lot of them, but I was actually studying cults. In any case, we have let a lot of people into the country from cultures that will absolutely do cannibalism in a heartbeat. And you may see rare stories in the news about how people selling human meat in markets in Africa and that sort of thing. But mostly it's been, it's suppressed from American media, but it's quite real. And the cannibal, the people hunting pygmies is quite real. In fact, they complained to the United Nations. They were getting hunted down and eaten. It's interesting about pygmies. A lot of people say pygmies themselves were cannibals. Well, I've got this interesting book here from 1699. It's a much newer version. It was reprinted in 1751. I've got the 1751 version. So this is a new book, 1751. And it's called it's got a new cover on it though. Well, the cover itself is kind of old, but it's a relatively new cover. But you'll see it up on the screen. I'll have a better copy up there. But the title is The Anatomy of a Pygmy, compared with that of a monkey, an ape, and a man, with an essay concerning the pygmies and of the ancients, wherein it will appear that they are either apes or monkeys, and not men, as formerly pretended, to which is added the anatomy and description of a rattlesnake, also of the muskog, what's a muskog? With a discourse upon the jointed and roundworm. So I guess a jointed worm and a roundworm. And 2 letters concerning the monstrous birth and preternatural conception with reflections thereon. In the second edition being the works of Edward Tyson. Actually, Edward Tyson is an interesting fellow. I mean, he's like the father of comparative anatomy, I think, right? And it goes on. So this was printed in London on at Gray's Inn in 1751, but the original was 1699 on the 17th of May. And so anyway, it goes on here, and they're dissecting, good Lord, pygmy and that sort of thing. But you got to keep in mind, in this time frame, this is 1699. We didn't even realize that the heart beat blood until William Harvey was coming up with his idea in 1628. That was long after Columbus ran into Cuba and thought it was Japan in 1492, right? I mean, so we are not very advanced. Men are not very advanced, and women either. So, I mean, mankind is just not very advanced at all. And imagine 1628 is when we actually started to realize, with this really confounding idea, that the heart pumps blood. 1628. That was basically like this morning in historical times. And it's only like late morning right now, right? So we've got these people, and you got to keep in mind, around the world, people are in various degrees of evolution. Different cultures that you go to, some are quite super primitive. But look at us. I mean, we've got nuclear weapons threatening to nuke each other right now. We've got people, selling dope all over the place right now to our own children. I mean, that's not very advanced. We've got the things that we are actually doing are very, very primitive, such as feeding one large portion of our population and then cutting it off. Great idea, huh? Generations of that, and then cutting it off. And suddenly, if you feed pigeons, you're going to get more pigeons. If you want more ducks, feed the ducks. And you stop feeding the ducks, and what's going to happen when you feed bears? They said with gators, a fed gator is a dead gator. A fed bear is a dead bear, right? Now what's going to happen? People heavily armed have been fed. They will have a sense of entitlement, a mile deep and a mile wide, and they're angry. They're going to be angry. They're going to be hangry on a cultural level. Many cultures, of course, are going to be hungry. And one of the things you find in war is that the war creates a chaos that allows a lot of people to then opportunistically commit crimes they wouldn't have actually committed, right? They might go, well, I'm going to go rob the bank. I'm going to go. I mean, you'll have people robbing their neighbors and whatnot that they normally actually would not have done that. but it's just an opportunity. There's no cops, there's no anything like that. So we actually have reached a level where, we're pushing cannabis all around in many states anyway, and in various countries. I literally bought this, and I've held this up several times. Bought this in a cannabis store in Bangkok recently. It says, "Take me home, I'm for sale." And there's the price. This was literally in a cannabis shop. I showed this a couple times already. This little baby bong, a baby bong. They're actually teaching children, hey, go ahead and bong up, actually smoke it out of his head. So what do you want? Oh, by the way, the name ganja, dope. Ganja got that name from the Ganges River. Gangama means mother river in India. They'll say Gangama, like a lot of the Hindus will say Gangama, mother river in Hindi language, right? And so when I write these books on the Agoris, which was the sect that I tracked down, I'll probably name it Mother River. The series will probably be Mother River because of various reasons that you'll see in the books if you dare to read them. But Gangama, that when the British were taking Indians around the world to do labor, like in the islands, many islands, but they would a lot of them would smoke marijuana, and so if you go to the Ganges River in India, you'll see a lot of the sadhus, the holy men. They're smoking ganja, they're smoking marijuana, and anyway, somehow this, as you can imagine, bled over into why we call it ganja today. So we're going to end up with a lot of people that have the munchies and they don't have their food, and they've got, stuff like this, and they're going to come get some food, right? They're going to come get it. And one way or the other, and they're not going to miss much time. And this is what's going on. You can see through time. I was talking about this recently with an anthropologist. I don't know if I should say her name. I'll ask her. But about the normalization and the desensitization towards cannibalism. I've noticed it over the last, few years minimum. I'm starting to notice more cannibalism stuff show up, not just because it's Halloween, but on a day-to-day basis. It's like it pops up just like randomly, cannibal stuff, right? It's clear, as somebody who studies information war, that we're being set up for cannibalism. It's clear. It's crystal clear. You can see it. It's like I've said before, that wars always radiate in advance. I've never studied a single war that doesn't radiate in advance that it's going to happen. Radiate brighter than the sun if you know what you're watching for. And sometimes you don't need to know what you practically get sunburned by the amount of information radiating off of it. Well, in this case, you'll at least get a moon burn. There is a significant amount of talk about cannibalism, vampires, and all this stuff. It's funny. Gary the Cannibal, he used to, he was very funny, actually, weirdly. And he would say things like, vampires, they're competition, liquid diet, I hate vampires, and I'd say, well, I'm wearing garlic, to keep the vampires off. He's like, yeah, of course, that, of course, if a cannibal catches you, then the garlic's your seasoning. He used to joke with people, he would call, the name Long Pig is an old, slang for human meat, because people taste like pork, right? Long pig. And Gary the Cannibal, who he's from Texas, but he used to live in Hawaii, he says, that's why all those islanders, they love spam. I am. They, because people taste like ham. And that's the kind of jokes he would tell on a regular basis. And I hope the spam people don't sue me, but that's just what Gary the Cannibal used to say. Actually, it'll probably make spam sales go through the roof. And so that's what he used to say. He said that's why they buy spam all over the islands. You can go and there's all these flavors of spam, because in any case, he used to call it the other white meat, right? And so it's funny because he would, as tourists would inevitably come to talk with him, because he was like magnetic to tourists. Oh, you're from Canada, and he would wink at me. I love Canadian bacon. He would say things like that. What I'm getting to with this is that these people, for the cannibals who do this on a regular basis, it's not like something they even hide. I mean, the cannibals, it'd be like eating chicken or eating, beef or something. They're like, yeah. I mean, they're more discussing which parts do they like, not whether they like it. Right. And so you're going to find that if this if the food is cut off for even a couple of weeks, you're going to start seeing stories of cannibalism. I have no doubt in my mind, unless they're suppressed, because it'll just happen, and it won't literally. It won't take. It won't take a couple of weeks. It'll take less than that. You'll have robberies and that sort of thing. But again, I've seen a lot of people come through the Darien Gap that they'll go to cannibalism instantly, with or without having food. They'll just like catch somebody's kid and eat them. I mean, I'm dead serious. And this is, I mean, one of the things that leads Agoris to eat people. Agoris is that sect that I hunted down, or and Nagas as well, but mostly Agoris. But it is they say that the people they want to go for people with something called Shakti. And a lot of people know what Shakti is. Shakti is like the feminine sort of energy or life force of the universe. Shakti, right? So they have like Shakti brand honey or something, right? It's a famous name, and so or famous idea, right? And so the Agoris, they say, well, they want somebody that has more Shakti because they want their Shakti. And Shakti, if you want to imagine Shakti, and the people that have Shakti as a part of their belief system can fill in the blanks on these and maybe say more and correct me if I get anything wrong, which I don't think that I will. I might miss some, leave some things out because it's a huge subject. But Shakti, if you just imagine how money works, that's kind of the way Shakti works. You can earn Shakti. You can be born with Shakti. You can lose it. It can be stolen from you. You can steal it from others. You can get Shakti or lose it from your actions or from your thoughts. You can, basically it's kind of like money, right? If you just kind of imagine, can I lose it? Yes, you can lose it. Can somebody steal it from you? Yes. Can you steal it from them? Yes. Can you earn it? Yes. Can somebody else earn it? Yes. And so it's sort of, I don't know that you can get interest on Shakti, but in any case, and I don't know what the gold standard is for Shakti, but the Agoris, they think that that people with a lot of money have more Shakti. People that are that say are lucky have a lot of Shakti. People that are young who haven't used their Shakti yet. So in other words, sometimes they go for children because first of all, they can get the children, especially if they're street children and they're basically, nobody's going to miss them. But they'll go after white people too. Remember what I said earlier. People will go after albinos in Africa. Look it up. It's a problem. They'll put, even today, albinos have to be defended because people will hunt those albinos down and chop them up and eat them or sell their body parts for magic. And that's this is the real world we live in. And there's a lot more of this stuff goes on than you might imagine with black magic and that so many things like this. And some people just eat people because they're cheap and they're easy to catch. And so there's many. I got a whole section here on Thugis and all this. I mean, it's the Darien Gap and these places look a lot different to me than I think they do to most people. And when I was warning people, when Europe opened the doors, you're not going to like this. Some people got it, especially the ones who had traveled around a lot, and some people didn't. And now we're about to get it. And even if we didn't open the doors, we still are going to have huge amounts of Americans who, seriously, education level is quite intensely low. And they've been brainwashed with horrific music, broken families that are intentionally broken, intentionally sabotaged with chemicals, with alcohol, with death jabs, of course, with all sorts of drugs, so many types of drugs, and intensely destroyed by and weaponized by information war. The food, there's about to be a lot of people hangry unless they immediately turn it back on again. But who knows? I don't know what's going to happen. But if this food is left cut off for a while, be prepared, because one of the things you'll find in famines actually is, first of all, people will steal immediately from all the stores. So the stores will not be resupplied, right? They're going to steal from the warehouses. They will not be resupplied. They'll steal from the trains and the boats. They'll steal directly from the farmers. And this hits you on the next season, especially if they're still stealing in the next season, because then the farmers won't grow. And as you'll see, that's a pattern in famines. So the famine will often sort of build up. and go to some crest, as they inevitably do when enough people have died or moved off, or more food comes in, or the locusts go away, or whatever. And so, for whatever reason, the math starts to, net, nutrition needed equals the nutrition available. So what we're looking at now is intentional. Obviously, conditions have been set. It's taken generations, and if you want to flip this switch, it's going to be game one. And you'll find that in actual famines, when people really honestly don't have enough, there's no there's no lights out. If the government says you have to be off the road at 10 o'clock at night, or when the sun goes down, when people are hungry, zero difference. The police can be down there mowing people down, and people are still going to be hitting the streets, and they'll eat the cops. During the Hungry 40s, I think it was in the 1840s, I think that, as I recall, I think it was in Paris, the police showed up with some horses to disperse the hungry people, and the people ate the horses. That's just no. I think that. Sorry, that's been a long time since I read that book. I've forgotten the name of the book, but it was just an old story about police come up with the horses, going to break the horses, and have a nice day. Those are nice horses. But again, we've let tens of millions of people come in. We've also got tens of millions of people in the United States that really don't know much about anything at all, except how to feed their bellies and then how to take handouts, because that is the conditions that have been set to rot our country, and we allowed it to happen. So now it's happening, and it's game on. I don't know what's going to happen next week. Be prepared, but rest assured that sending in the National Guard is the people that were in Iraq and Afghanistan and the earlier generations in Vietnam. That doesn't mean anything. That means nothing. Okay, send out the National Guard. All they can be used for is to clamp down on the actual law-abiding citizens, because the non-law-abiding citizens, they're absolutely irrelevant. They're irrelevant. And another thing of concern, if and when food, if it is, let's say, if the food is really out, and so now the general population is actually hungry, they're going to probably have food places where they hand out food. What happens there? When people leave the food, they get ambushed. That's just normal. They might, let you fight it out, and then when you leave with the food, you get ambushed. That's a normal thing that happens. Some people go and fight it out to get the food, and then there's another sort of people that go for food. They wait until you've gone down your path, and now they've got you. Bam, got you, right? So that's going to happen. It's going to happen a lot. So if you go down to get food because you only had a month of food, and somebody robbed your house, or whatever, or it's been 3 months, then you're going to have to get food somehow. You might be the one doing cannibalism. And so here it is. It's game on. Got a lot of drug heads out there that at first they'll probably like, oh, far out, man. Well, I got enough food in the fridge. I'll just order pizza. Those are the guys that I got my freedom, man. All the drug heads that watch Joe Rogan. What's up, man? Why don't they turn that thing back on so they can get some food? Give me some dope, mama. I mean, that's the kind of idiots that we got out there. We've got millions of them, and we've allowed that to happen through weakness. So now, weak men make hard times. So we're hard times are coming, and hard times are good for hard men. So some people are going to do well, and that'll be that, and some will not. So let's go. Get your game faces on, and never know what's going to happen next. Maybe nothing will happen, but maybe it will. And if it is, just remember, God loves you, and you're on your own as well. So you've got to pull your team together. You got to communicate. You need 24 karat information. Speaking of which, I almost always forget to ask for support. Please support my work, right? Please support, please donate. It's very important, very important. And just remember, we have just allowed millions of people to come across the border, warned about them year after year, taking a lot of physical risk out there in the jungles, and they're all the way across the U.S. border and all over the place, Morocco and everywhere else. Warning, warning, warning. Now it's game time. And so that's it. Thank you for hitting Gifts and Go or Venmo or whatever. I'll keep the information coming. PayPal. subscribe to my Substack. You can subscribe for free. It's not going to be subscription. I'm not going to make people pay for this information. If you don't want to pay for it, don't. That's fine. And I understand a lot of people aren't going to have the money. So you're the ones that definitely need the information. The ones that don't have money, I'll keep it coming. I'm not going to put it behind a paywall because the conditions are too serious to put stuff behind a paywall at this point. Because if I know something that can be helpful, I'm going to come on and give it. Be ready.